What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me today for another off-season check-in with the Patriots. I think the last one was 3 weeks ago, maybe. I don't know. I have to get better about it, but during the off-season, there's just not always something to talk about every single day or every single week. But I got together a bunch of stuff that I felt like would be good to talk about because, there might not be a whole lot going on, but there's some stuff going on. And of course, we're going to talk about the draft today. Maybe if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I do enjoy doing a mock draft or two. So we might get into that as well. Just want to make sure. Hi guys. So maybe we'll do a mock draft. I don't know. We shall see. We'll see how long this goes, but let's just jump right into it. So I don't know if you guys saw, I think I put this out this morning. I don't think I've even tweeted it out yet. But DeAndre Hopkins, we talked about him being a potential target for the Patriots because, people really still want them to go after a big name receiver to fill in that wide receiver one role that the Patriots have had void for quite some time. But once they had the Bill O'Brien hire, I think a lot of us kind of fell off of that and were not so sure it would happen again because we know their history. They allegedly did not get along very well in at least the later half of Hopkins' time in Houston. And we know that Bill O'Brien basically traded Hopkins for nothing when he traded him to the Cardinals. So it seemed like that was off the table and definitely a name that we should move on from. But Ian Rappaport spoke with Phil Perry of NBC Sports Boston. It seems like it was over the weekend or last week at some point because it looked like it was filmed during the Super Bowl Radio Row press stuff, but I don't think that they put it out until this week. But so he was asked about that and if the Patriots would ever be able to pull that off, and if he felt, or Ian Rappaport was asked if he felt like this was something that could still happen because of Bill O'Brien. And he said, quote, "I don't care about any of that. Bill O'Brien is edgy with everyone, but he's also a professional and he doesn't call the shots. So could they coexist? I don't see why not. Bill O'Brien, just like Bill Belichick, really likes good players. I think DeAndre Hopkins likes really good teams. I could see that working if that is a situation they decide to get into." So we know that Hopkins has a no trade clause, but he's in a similar situation as he was when he was traded from the Texans. He still has 2 years left. 2023 and 2024 on his contract, but he's already earned all of his guaranteed money. And he's probably going to want to go somewhere to either get an extension or a playoff caliber team, because we know that the Cardinals are in a weird situation right now where Kyler got injured. He tore his ACL against the Patriots in November. So he's going to be out, I would assume, for quite a bit of the 2023 season. And they just brought in a new head coach. They have a new GM. They've already talked about discussing the future of Hopkins with Hopkins. It seems like he's on the trade market anywhere, on the cutting, whatever, you know what I mean. So it already seems like that's in place. It's just going to be a matter of who gives them the best offer and if Hopkins is good with going to that team. We know that Belichick is a big fan of Hopkins. We all saw that video of the pregame interaction between the two of them, and they told each other they loved each other and how much they admired each other's work. So it's doesn't seem like it's off the table in that regard, but it definitely is something to watch for because, he was only traded, wasn't it in 2020? So it's not like it's been that long, but I would like to believe that he wouldn't be completely against working with Bill O'Brien again. But, if we don't get him, it is what it is. I did write about Hopkins and if he could be traded to the Patriots. So if you need some information in that regard, he is 30 right now. He is signed through 2024, as I said. last year, because a lot of people think that because he's 30 that he's still not as productive, but he definitely is. He missed 6 games because he was suspended, but even though he missed those 6 games, he played in 9, and he was still near the top of the league for his stats. He had 64 receptions for 717 yards, 3 touchdowns, and cap space. So for 2023, his base salary is 19.45 million with a cap hit of 30.75 million. So definitely a steep amount, but I think obviously the Patriots would figure it out. They would either stretch it out with an extension or something. They would figure that out. And the Cardinals do have to take on some dead cap if they do decide to trade him. It would be 11.3 million this year and next year, but it opens up 19.45 million for them in cap space, which they're going to need it because they're definitely going through a rebuild right now. I know that some people are saying it's a retool, but I mean, there's rumors that they might even move on from Kyler Murray. I mean, the head coach, who knows? There's a new head coach. There's a new GM. They might not be on board with working with Kyler. It took them quite a bit to find a head coach, and we don't know if that has anything to do with Kyler being their quarterback or if it's just they didn't interview the right candidates. I don't know. But, you know, for how young Kyler is and how young he is in his career, we haven't heard a whole lot of great stuff about him. So I don't know. We shall see. It seems like Hopkins is definitely on the move. So we'll have to pay attention to that. Obviously, if we find out that the Patriots did make an offer and he declined it, then I think that we have our answer about how he feels about working with Bill O'Brien again. But since we're talking about other receivers that the Patriots can trade for, I want to talk about the other two because Ian Rappaport did touch on them a little bit as well. Obviously, the biggest name that people have been talking about connected to the Patriots is DeAndre Hopkins, but people have also been talking about T. Higgins and Jerry Jeudy because both are still in their rookie contracts. But if we're looking at T. Higgins first, Rappaport says that he doesn't believe that Higgins will be traded, but he can see it happening if he wants a massive contract and he wants it now, which will cause problems for the Bengals in the future because they're going to have to pay Joe Burrow. They're going to have to pay Jamar Chase, and it could be a little bit tricky for them to be able to afford those two at prime money, obviously, and then trying to pay Higgins at the same time. There's going to be that inner competition between Chase and Higgins because both of them could be wide receiver ones on teams, any team almost at this point. So I can't imagine that Higgins would be cool with taking a significant amount less than Chase. I guess it just depends on who gets the offer or who gets the contract signed first. But Higgins is a guy that I like for the Patriots. I think that they would have to probably trade a first round pick, which, you know, for all the people that want the Patriots to take a wide receiver at 14 this year, this could be your answer because at least we know that he is a tried and true receiver. We know what he's capable of. We know what he could do. And it's not as questionable as Bill Belichick drafting a first round receiver, which is a little bit scary if we look at his history of drafting receivers. So Higgins is 24. He is going to be entering the 4th year of his rookie deal. So, I mean, basically the Bengals don't have any reason to trade him because he's still on a rookie contract. Like it's not a significant win for them to move on from him. I do think it's exactly what Rappaport said, and that's what I've been saying for a while too. It's going to come down to the future and how much money they are going to need to pay him and Burrow and Chase. He has been a phenomenal wide receiver too for the Bengals since he was drafted, and last year he played in 16 games, had 74 receptions, 1,209 yards, 7 touchdowns, and that was just in the regular season. He's only at $1.794 million for a base salary in 2023 with a cap hit of just over $2.7 million. I mean, he's making virtually no money, but one would assume if the Patriots were to decide to trade for him, he would want that extension like right away, which I think would be fine. He's only 24. They would have him under contract for quite some time. And I think I like Higgins. I've gotten kind of a mixed reaction when I've talked about him going to the Patriots on Twitter. So I'm not sure if, other people are just not on board. Maybe they have their eyes on somebody else. But, Higgins, I wouldn't be mad about it. And then we also have talked about Jerry Jeudy, who is another interesting prospect for the Patriots. And he's been another guy that they have been, or people have been talking about for the Patriots to trade for. He's also going to be entering the 4th year of his rookie deal. He is 23 though. And when Rappaport was asked about him, he said that he does believe that he could be on the move, especially because he was on the trade block throughout the entire trade deadline last year. And from what I had heard and what I wrote about was, several teams, I think they said like 4 teams had reached out about Jeudy, but nothing ever got done. So it just kind of makes you wonder why it didn't get done. Are the Broncos asking for a ridiculous return? Some people are saying they don't believe that Jeudy is worth a 1st-round pick, and so maybe they're asking for that, and the teams that were inquiring about him did not offer a 1st-round pick. I know when I was doing some mock drafts and trading for him in them, people were not liking that I did a 1st round, so I did do a 2nd round. And even though it's just a mock draft, it was accepted with a 2nd round pick. So I don't know. But he kind of was like the wide receiver 1 for most of the season last year because of injuries to their receivers. So he played in 15 games. He had 67 receptions, 972 yards, 6 touchdowns. He had 14.5 yards per catch. He, again, like I said, is on his rookie deal, so he only has a base salary of $2.681 million with a cap hit of just under $5 million. But again, they don't have a whole lot of reason to move on from him because of the rookie contract, but it seems like they already are trying to do that because they were trying to do that last year. So I don't know that has that much. It doesn't matter to them at this point. Oh, my goodness. They don't get a whole lot of money back in cap savings either, so it's just going to be a matter of they want to get rid of him, I guess. I don't know. They do need cap space. They only have $9.4 million at least projected right now, so they're going to have to do some moving because Russell Wilson's only getting more expensive from here. I mean, that contract is absolutely ridiculous, but they're going to have to figure it out because he's going to be taking up like 70%. I don't know what it's like 60-70% of the cap is going to be his. So they will have to figure that out, but I wouldn't be mad about that either. I think it just depends on what your preference is. I kind of am more lenient towards, or I feel like I would prefer Higgins over Jeudy, but Chris says, I would still kick the tires on Jerry Jeudy, pick up the phone and see if Denver would want to do a deal. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that just because basically the entire league knows that he was up for trade last year and nothing happened. I think that a lot of teams will probably inquire and they'll want to know what the price tag is because it is one of those things that's a little bit odd that if they were trying to get rid of him last year, that nothing came of it. So I think that, yeah, it's going to be the price. And then Denver might have to change their price because if they were really trying to deal him and nothing came last year and they're still going to be trying to do it, they're going to have to lower their price tag because it seems pretty clear to me that nobody is going to be offering what they want. So let's move on to some more Patriots stuff. This was a little bit more of a shocker to me. I put an article out about this yesterday, and I think a lot of us have kind of, I don't know, changed our feelings maybe about Gronk over the years, but I thought it was interesting. He did an interview with Jeff Howe from The Athletic recently, and he was asked about Tom Brady's retirement and getting a one-day contract and whatever, and Jeff asked him if he would like to do the same, and his answer is what was the most interesting, I think. He said, if it was offered and presented, it would definitely be a possibility. I love New England. I loved my time there. I learned so much. I love Mr. Kraft. I love the whole organization, Coach Belichick, everyone. I've learned so much there over the 9 years. If that was presented in my case, that would definitely be something to consider because of just how much that place means to me for the rest of my life. So I found that to be a little bit significant because if you've been paying attention to Gronk post first retirement, I guess, he hasn't said a whole lot of positive things about his time in New England and not spoken highly of the experience or the coaches at all. It's just not been the greatest, and I think that's why a lot of Patriots fans have kind of been turned off from him. And then of course he retired for a year and then came back and just went to be with Brady, so people were a little bit rubbed the wrong way, and how he went about his retirement was messy as well. But even just as of last month, he talked about how difficult it was to deal with losing when you were with the Patriots, and how he would go into a quote super depression after losses. And then last year he took a jab when he was on Jimmy Kimmel, when he was talking about Brady wanting to make sure that he earned his bonus, and he flat out said in a joking way that if that were the case in New England, that he probably would have been taken off the field before he could earn that. And I just thought that was a little weird because, I mean, I don't know. So I think that this is all going to come down to, I guess, how Mr. Kraft feels. I haven't heard this talked about at all, even after he originally retired. I didn't recall anybody talking about him retiring a Patriot, like signing a one-day contract or them doing like a ceremony. I never heard any of them say anything about that. And we know that it's a topic right now simply because Brady just retired. So people are talking about it with Brady, and they're going to ask it with Gronk now that we know that Gronk is for sure not coming back. But I'm not completely against it because, I mean, it's not like Gronk is the first guy to have said that it was difficult to be a Patriot. I think that it's also just because of his personality. He is very all over the place. He's very silly. He's very extroverted, and that isn't always something that is going to work well in a Bill Belichick environment. So I wouldn't be surprised if that has something to do with his feelings, possibly. And even though he said something about having a super depression and having to deal with it for 2 days, I think a lot of us can relate to that. I think fans especially understand that. But as Joel said, oh wait, there it goes. Gronk should be given the opportunity to retire as a Patriot. I am not against it because this is something that I mentioned in my article too. We have to remember the enormous impact that Gronk had on the Patriots. He was with them for 9 seasons. He totaled 521 receptions for 7,861 yards, 79 touchdowns in 115 games. He adds 98 receptions for 1,389 yards and 15 touchdowns in the postseason, which he played in 22 games. And he won 4 Super Bowls with them. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro 4 times. Made the NFL 2010s all-decade team, the NFL like 100, the Patriots 2010 team. Like, he's done everything possible. Not to mention how many of you guys still participate in debates online about how he's better than Travis Kelce. Like, we're still doing that, or at least I'm still doing that. So I think I'm not against it. It would be kind of cool if they both were in a ceremony together, or even just separate but around at the same time. I'm not against it. I know that people aren't thrilled with Gronk, but I mean, you can't ignore the greatness that the man brought to the Patriots in those 9 years, you know? So I'm glad to see that you guys agree with me, because I wasn't sure how you guys were going to react, since I know that some people have some really harsh feelings towards Gronk, and he can be kind of annoying sometimes, but he is one of my all-time favorite Patriots. So, you know, I kind of have to just look past it because I love me some Gronky. But let's see. All right. So I want to talk about another... all of this stuff is just coming back to my articles, guys. So I'm sorry, but it was just the easiest things that I could talk about. And I have a lot to say about these things. That's why I write about it. So, and yeah, Joel says Gronk is a goofball and just likes being out there. Yeah. And I think I can understand sometimes because I'm quite a goofball, and you might not really see that on here because I feel like I kind of need to tone it down. But yeah, no, it can be kind of hard sometimes when you're in an environment that doesn't cater to that. And so I would say that that's probably a lot of what Gronk's issues were. But let's talk about Mac Jones. So I put out an article yesterday that talks about NFL Network's analytics expert Cynthia Freeland. She was on NBC Sports Boston talking with Phil Perry, and they were talking about Mac Jones. And we're all talking about Mac Jones. The heat is on for him to have a great third season, which I think so far from what we've seen, he's on track to be better. I mean, not even because we've seen a whole lot from him in the offseason thus far, but, they have Bill O'Brien, which I think is a huge plus. And then we have Adrian Clem, who is going to be coming in to be the coach of the offensive line. So that's two massive improvements right now from if you compare it to where we were last year. That's going to be gigantic for him. So that's already a huge improvement. So I thought that what she had to say was really interesting. If you guys aren't familiar with her, she's all about the numbers. She breaks down stats and analytics and uses numbers to disprove and prove whatever she wants to talk about. And so she came up with this new statistic that kind of proves that Mac Jones is not as bad as some people are trying to say he is, and that he has the potential to be just as good as the Patriots need him to be. So she said, I really look at the best you can do is when you can do. Let me start. I really look at the best you can do is what you can do from a clean pocket, because most quarterbacks get pressured on about a third of their dropbacks. Some games it's more, some games it's less, but let's all just call it 30% on average. So what are you doing on those other 2/3 where you're not under pressure? Are you throwing precisely to a lot of the route tree? Because there are some things to always take into consideration. Does your wide receiver run the routes that you're expecting? What was the play call? Clean pocket, that to me is your ceiling. I think Mac Jones is in a good spot. First of all, he'll have Bill O'Brien. I think he's going to create a system that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, the familiarity, this Alabama connection, all those things. So, Phil Perry elaborated and used some more numbers. He said Mac Jones, about 71% of his dropbacks were not pressured. 246 attempts. He has a completion percentage of 71.7%. He averaged 7.3 yards per attempt from a clean pocket, and he had 11 touchdowns against just 3 picks from a clean pocket. It turns out he has the 5th best grade of any quarterback with at least 100 dropbacks last year when they kept it clean. So this was just a dysfunctional Patriots offense. This was a substandard Patriots offense. If they were even close to just average, you'd probably be looking at a 9 or 10 win team, a team that makes it into the postseason. Mac Jones trails only in terms of a kept clean grade Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Trevor Lawrence. So I think that basically what she's saying is what we have all talked about throughout the entirety of the season. Maybe we didn't have the numbers and maybe we didn't have the statistics that we were, spitting out to back up our argument, but we knew that the offense was dysfunctional, from the play calling to the offensive line coaching to the quarterback's coach. It was just all a hot mess. It seemed like there was just not great communication. There wasn't a lot of good relationships between the players and the coaches. I mean, we had players calling out coaches and their preparedness for opponents and whatnot. And of course, then you had that bombshell report from the Boston Herald that revealed a lot about the inner workings behind the scenes. And I think that it didn't leave a lot for Mac Jones to be successful. And I think that people need to recognize that, because a lot of the blame has been put on Mac. And I think, in my opinion, it's very unfair. I think that there's a lot of blame to be spread around, and I've talked about it. I've written about it. Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, Bill Belichick deserves quite a bit as well. And Mac Jones does deserve to be blamed for things, because there were games where he did look pretty bad, but there were some games where he looked really great too. And I think after that report came out in the Boston Herald, it provided more perspective to things that we weren't seeing, because we can only react to the things that we see with our eyes on the field or in press conferences in practice. All of the other things, it's hearsay, it's a source, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, no matter who is reporting it. And I think that expecting a second-year quarterback to overcome all of that was asking too much. And it seems now that we've had some time to digest the 2022 season, there are some more Patriots players who are pretty critical of Mac throughout the year coming out and finally kind of letting him off the hook a bit and acknowledging how difficult the year must have been for him. And I don't know if that's just from reading what we've all read, or maybe they've spoken to people who are currently within the organization and they heard about it from, directly from the source of someone who's went through and experienced the entirety of the season. But I think that we need to just lay off a little bit, give him some more time. He's already doing work, which we're going to get into that after this, after I'm done with this little segment here. But he's already doing exactly the same things that he was doing last year. He's putting in work, and it's only February. So clearly he's taking this very seriously. And I think we have a lot to look forward to. I think kind of how we felt coming into the 2022 preseason, where we knew that Mac had been working with, Tom House and working on his nutrition and strength and all of that. How excited we were to see the second year jump. I think that's more of how we should be feeling now. And that is simply because of the coaching changes. And people need to remember how big of an impact coaching has on a team and a player. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Chris says, if Matt can be protected more and we add the right pieces, I could not see why we would not be in the conversation for a playoff I'm assuming. Oh, playoff. Yeah. Playoff race. Yeah. Something. I think that the AFC East was definitely a lot more competitive last year than I think some people were expecting. And it kind of fell off towards the half, kind of like when the Patriots fell off, the rest of the division besides the Bills fell off. But I wasn't overly impressed with the AFC overall this year. So I feel like the Patriots, like you said, if they just get the right pieces, if we get a better better tackles on the offensive line, along with the better coaching, maybe figure out getting another receiver, maybe adding an edge rusher or something. I think that they're definitely going to be in a better spot. And I think they could be competitive. I mean, we saw how they were in 2021. They made the playoffs, and maybe it was just, a wild card, but they weren't that far behind. They were only one game behind the Bills. So I don't think that they're that far behind. I think last year was a giant step backwards, but those are things that they've already changed. So I'm optimistic, but that's just kind of how I am anyway. Joel says, I think Mac will be able to move through his progressions. That alone will improve his numbers this year. Yeah, and I think my biggest issue is just people already clamoring away at him being replaced. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Recent history has proven to us that a lot of quarterbacks come alive in their third year. So we just saw Jalen Hurts make the Super Bowl in his third year, and Josh Allen did phenomenal in his third year. Tua did great in his third year. So if we're looking at like recent history of quarterbacks that were kind of criticized early on in their first two seasons at least, then Mac Jones can definitely progress. And I'm not saying he's going to be Josh Allen in year 3 or Jalen Hurts and make the Super Bowl, but I do think that we need to see how he is in year 3, because we could be sitting here complaining about how we have Zach Wilson. At least we don't have Zach Wilson. Okay. Like, the Jets are in a lot worse of a situation than we are. But if you see how people react online, you would think we're in the exact same situation. Joel says, Sarah, are you concerned about that Matthew Judon disappeared in the second half of the season of the second straight year? I am, and I actually wrote about this. I don't remember. It was probably like nearly halfway. I was a little bit concerned about it last year, and I was even more concerned about it this past season, and I'm not sure why that is. We could have at least said in 2021 he was on the field a lot. He was in nearly for every single snap. So that could have just been a result of exhaustion, which would be 100% warranted. This year, though, yeah, we saw Dietrich Wise come alive. We saw Josh Uche come alive. But I want to see, I want to see that in combination with Judon. So I can't really explain what that is. And it kind of bums me out because he always starts really strong. I just wish that it could be the entire season, and I don't have an answer for it. I don't know what that is. I'm kind of curious to see if that is something that he did with Baltimore as well. If that was just like something that happens with him, I don't know. But for it to happen in his first 2 seasons with the Patriots, it is a little bit concerning. Nathaniel says, Sarah, do you think this is Mac Jones' last year with us if he doesn't play well? I would say so. Yeah, I know that there's already people talking about quarterbacks that are going to be in the draft next year. I know, and it was just crazy because we haven't even had the draft this year. Or even I know some people have talked about the Patriots drafting a quarterback, obviously not high in this draft, but I would say so, and I think that might come from Mr. Kraft as well. He's come out and publicly supported him, even recently when he was on Fox Business doing an interview. So I think that he does have that internal support, at least from Kraft. It doesn't seem like he really does so much from Belichick, but I think he probably will from O'Brien as well. But if we don't see, if he doesn't make the playoffs, or if he does, but like a lot of it is not going to be because of him, then I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from him, honestly. And Chris says, do we treat Mac Jones year 3 as year 3 or as a year 2 reset? That is interesting. That is an interesting question. I feel like it's going to depend on who you ask. If you're asking me, I'm going to say, sure, I'm going to go with the year 2 reset, because I feel like last year was just a wash. There was nothing that he was going to be able to do to overcome what was placed in front of him, not to mention then the high ankle sprain and basically trying to rush back. I feel that coupled with the coaching problems, and they had one of the most difficult schedules in the entire NFL, it just didn't seem like a recipe for success from the beginning. So I think that I'm gonna put more, I don't know, I feel like this year is going to be more of a substantive season, because I feel like this is going to indicate more of what is going to come from Mac in the future rather than what we saw last year. I don't feel like how he performed last year is who he is and the type of quarterback that he would be for the Patriots. I just don't. There's a reason why he went in the first round. There's a reason why people are already saying that San Francisco may be regretting picking Trey Lance instead of Mac Jones. So, that was the original thought when he fell to the Patriots, but now that they're dealing with all these issues with their quarterbacks, I mean, the fact that it's still being said despite him having such a weak 2022, I think that's still saying something. Andy had a really great college career. I know that people like to say, oh, well, look at who he had, on his side on the offense, but get him one of those guys. Get him a guy that is capable of Jalen Waddle or a Devontae Smith, or Jerry Jeudy. Get him those types of players, or at least one of them, and then see what he can do. Not everybody is Tom Brady and can make a random no-name person that no other team would care about having into a superstar. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Since we're still talking about Mac Jones, I wanted to talk about his offseason work, because that has been a big discussion, at least over the past week or two. So as of right now, he is working out with former NFL quarterback and now a fitness instructor, Nick Shimonic. I'm gonna say that's how he says. He's working on strength training, developing a stronger mindset, and he's posted a bunch of videos, or at least he's been tagged in a bunch of videos by Nick on Instagram. And it's just, to me, it seems very similar to like what I said last year, where he was working out with Tom House and he was over in California working out with some of the receivers, and just working on his nutrition and whatnot. It seems very similar to that, and I think that people need to applaud him for that, because he could have very well not started any of this for another month or two. You know, there's not a whole lot of players right now, especially quarterbacks, that are doing a bunch of work in the middle of February. So Nick had been asked about this when he was speaking to the Simplifaster. I have no idea what that is. Maybe it's a website or magazine, but he said, "My time in the NFL was brief, but the impact it made on me was immense. Being a quarterback at the highest level requires peak physical conditioning and an abundance of trust from your teammates. It's up to you to communicate and lead by example in a way that creates an instant buy-in." So very much the mentality that people are going to want Mac to have. And I don't really think that his mentality or leadership is necessarily an issue. I know there was a lot of people that did take issue with his display of frustration throughout games, but I kind of just let it slide. I know that the media, for the most part, turned it into something that it wasn't. At least it wasn't, something that it wasn't, in my opinion. Trying to show up the coaches and whatever. I think that last year, as we were going to say a million times, was a difficult year for everybody. And Mac just had maybe more of a difficult time ignoring it or not allowing his frustration to show. So I am excited to see who else he ends up working with. I don't know a whole lot about Nick, but from what I've read when I was trying to read up on him, people think he's a really good guy to work with, and other NFL players have worked with him. I saw like Saquon Barkley worked with him, and I forget who else, but I think that he's making positive strides. It's exactly what I think people would want him to be doing right now. And I'm excited to see who else he ends up working with. Chris says, "I would be frustrated if I was working with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge." I know, like, imagine how frustrated we were as fans sitting at home watching from the couch, and how much worse it would be if you were actually on the team having to work with them every single day. Like, it would be amplified by like 1,000. So since I am currently obsessed with mock drafts, I thought we would go over what the latest mock drafts say, coming from the experts, that the Patriots will take at 14. We do know that all of this is going to change after the combine, basically, which the rankings have already changed since after the Senior Bowl and East West Shrine Bowl, whatever. All of them have changed. I mean, I was doing a ton of mock drafts, and then they reset it. I think it was this past like Sunday or Monday. And then all of the people I got comfortable with at a certain position are now way up there. So we're going to see a bunch of changes over the next month or so. And I find it interesting to see the vast array of who these guys think the Patriots are going to take. So there is a few that keep being favorites to land with New England. The first one is Broderick Jones, who's an offensive tackle out of Georgia. We have Chad Reuter and Lance Zierlein of NFL.com, both saying that that's who they project right now for the Patriots to go for. And one of the top two favorites, though, is Brian Branch, who's a safety out of Alabama. We have Nick O'Malley of Mass Live, Michael Renner of PFF, Vinny Iyer of Sporting News, and Daniel Jeremiah, who he just put his out. I think his second one. It was a couple weeks ago, maybe. I don't know. All of them have projected that the Patriots will take a safety, which I wouldn't be mad at, but I think a lot of that might come down to what Devin McCourty ends up doing. We still don't know if he's going to retire or if Slater is going to retire, but I'm just not sure if they would go for a safety in the first round unless McCourty's out. The other one that I'm not sold on is Quentin Johnson. He's a wide receiver out of TCU. We have Phil Perry of NBC Sports Boston, Chris Trapasso and Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports, both having Quentin Johnson going to the Patriots, and Luke Easterling of draftwire.com. I'm not 100% on board with the Patriots going with a wide receiver in the first round. I feel like there are other positions that they need to address more, like tackle, and they have some really great tackles that are going in the first round, and I just would love for them to take one. I know that people aren't going to love it. We didn't love Cole Strange last year, but I think after watching the Patriots during 2022, I can't imagine many people would have a harsh thing to say about taking a tackle. So we also have Zay Flowers, a wide receiver of Boston College. Jason McIntyre of Fox Sports has the Patriots taking him at 14. Again, I'm just on the same boat. Like, as great of a story as it would be for Zay Flowers and how many people love him, I'm just not on board yet. Unless things, the rankings drastically change and maybe the only option that they have is a wide receiver, then maybe I'll change my mind. But as of right now, I'm just like fully on a tackle. And then we have Joey Porter Jr., who is a cornerback out of Penn State. Todd McShay and Matt Miller of ESPN both have him going. I thought this was funny. Taylor Kiles, who works at Next Gen Stats, he put out a screenshot of Joey Porter Sr. From 2008 talking about how the Steelers would have 3 rings if the Patriots never cheated. So how funny would it be if Joey Porter Jr. was drafted by the Patriots, because then his daddy would have to root for the Patriots. So I thought that was funny. It kind of reminded me of Asante Samuel Jr. And if he was going to go to the Patriots, then, King hater Asante Samuel Sr. would have to root for his I mean, I don't know. He seems like he hates the Patriots. At least he hates Belichick. So that would be funny. My favorite pick so far has to be Peter Skoronski, offensive tackle from Northwestern. We have Evan Lazar of Patriots.com projecting that he will go at 14. I've done quite a few mock drafts, and it really depends at this point, even since the revamp of the rankings this past week. I've been getting Skoronski fall to 14 quite a bit, and it's getting my hopes up a little bit because I would be fine with Broderick Jones, but Peter Skoronski is like the top guy right now. And so I would be all in on that if that happens. I mean, even if you read his like PFF profile, it says when it asks what can he improve on, it says like very little. Like they're basically trying to find something that he could work on because he's so good. And he's a swing tackle. So definitely what the Patriots need. And the last one that I have is Mel Kiper. He says the Patriots will take Devin Witherspoon. He's a cornerback out of Illinois. I'm not sure that Witherspoon will fall to 14, but again, that's what it is right now. I'm not often getting him at 14 in a mock draft. But that depends. So, we're going to have to see what happens between now and, the combine, basically what happens from the combine and how much that drastically shifts the rankings. Nathaniel asks, hey, Sarah, would you want us to trade for Deebo Samuel? I really wanted Deebo Samuel to be a Patriot, especially after he had so many visits with them pre-draft, even posted the video like, hey, Bill, I'll see you soon. That breaks my heart because, of course, we know that they went with N'Keal Harry. I am not sure. I'm very torn because I would love for him to be a Patriot, but I would also question how much they would have to give up. I would almost certainly believe that it would be at least a first round, but I'm going to assume that they're going to want way more than that, even possibly players, but I can't really imagine who they would want from the Patriots. But yeah, I'm assuming that it would be a lot of draft capital, and I don't know. I think that it would all depend on what Belichick's feelings are on Deebo, if they've drastically changed since his original meetings with him. I'm not sure. But if that was what they were going to use their first round pick on, I don't know that I could get that mad about it. I would be upset that they didn't get a tackle like Skoronski. But I mean, getting Deebo Samuel, I don't think that you could be that upset, Like, I love to cheer for him in San Fran. So Chris says no for Broderick. You don't want Broderick Jones? Why is that? I want to know why. It would be another Jones. You mean you don't want another Jones? If Bill drafts a wide receiver in round one, Robert Kraft should fire him. I would say if he drafts a wide receiver in round one, it's going to be something because of Kraft. Like I'm assuming that it would be like he was speaking to a lot of people, or Mr. Kraft or somebody was like, oh yeah, this guy would be good. But yeah, I don't want a receiver in the first round unless, like, if we're talking about a trade scenario for, you know, Higgins or I guess Debo. But I was looking at it yesterday when this was like a thing where I forget who said it, that the Patriots could trade for him. The Niners don't really have a whole lot of incentive to move him, and I'm looking at it again. So I don't know why the Niners would move on from him exactly. He had just signed a 3-year extension, so he signed through, well, I think it falls off in 2026. Yeah, they're automatically void. Okay, so he signed through 2025. When he would be 29. Has he been in the league that long already? So in 2023, he has a base salary of $1 million, a cap hit of only 8.653. Wow. Oh, because it jumps up next year. Okay, so yeah, he gets 20.9 million base salary in 2024. And then with a cap hit of over 28 million. So dead cap wise, if they were to trade him after June 1st, they would get 6.65 million in dead cap and over almost 22 million in dead cap in 2024. And they'd only get 2 million in cap space. So it doesn't seem like a whole lot of reason to move on from him. I mean, and I think Brandon Ayuk is going to free agency. They'll have Christian McCaffrey. They'll have George Kittle. I don't know. I don't see it being a possibility, honestly. But as great as it would be, I don't know if I see it happening. So, while I still have you guys here, should we do a mock draft? Would you guys like to help me do a mock draft? I'm going to just start it because I don't think you guys can answer fast enough for me to sit here and wait for you guys to let me know. So let's see. Okay, so we are doing a mock draft. I'm just double checking to make sure. Okay, so I have the Patriots here. We're at 14. I'm going to do one with no trades because it's just a lot easier. So let's enter the draft. See what you guys are saying. Okay, so you're both in. Let's go. Okay, so I'm going to say let's try one with no trades. We know that's not going to happen, but I'm not like the queen of how to figure out trades and what the best trades are. I just always try to see what's going on here. Also, look at this. How sad is this? Wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, defensive back. They still have the Patriots down for a quarterback, which is kind of crazy to me. But anyway, let's see. Let's see what we get. Okay. See, this is what I have been getting a lot. So we saw, Brian Branch was a big one here. Peter Skoronski. Jordan Addison was another one that a lot of people had the Patriots grabbing in the first round, but that's kind of fallen off recently. Broderick Jones has gone up in the rankings. He was at like 24 last week. I know a lot of people want JSN. That's not happening. He's going in the first round. So again, Zay Flowers, he's moved down. I don't remember. I'm trying to see what you guys are saying. Who should we take? I'm trying to see. I wonder if there's an easier way to do this where I can still see what you guys are saying. You want to take a tackle? You want to take Joey Porter Jr. Okay, well, we have 2 Joey Porter Jr.'s. Okay, so let's do that. And then we can come back and do another one, Chris. We'll take a tackle. So let's take Joey Porter Jr. And again, we're not doing any trades. And even Michael Mayer, he moved all the way down to 24. He had been in the top 10. Okay, so since we took a corner, do we want to take DeJuan Jones? Because that was another guy that people have had connected to the Patriots. He's definitely moved up. Obviously, you can see he was at 74, so he looked like he was going to be a third rounder, or I had been grabbing him at 76. But now he's going in the second round. We have some edge players. Luke Whippler, he's moved up quite a bit. I think he's the top center. Let's see. Oh, the other one that I really liked is Emmanuel Forbes. He's a corner. I like him a lot. And Carl Brooks, who's an edge player. I like him a lot. But we're not going to get him if we don't trade. But sometimes they do fall to 46. So what do you think we should do? Should we take Jones, DeJuan Jones, to add another one to add another guy? Okay, let's take a tackle. Okay. Oh, I realized that you guys can't even see when I flip back. Okay, let's take DeJuan Jones for now, just to get the tackle. Let's see. All right. So, oh yeah, Michael Wilson has gone up significantly. He was way down. So obviously he impressed at the Shrine Bowl. He was one that the Patriots really liked. So we have safeties. Jordan Battle is one of the bigger safeties too. I've seen people like him. Who do we like, guys? See, like I would probably be, so we already took a corner and a tackle. I do like Hendon Hooker too. Okay, so let's look at safeties. So that's right here. So we have Jordan Battle and Christopher Smith would probably be the best. Skinner, I know some people have liked Skinner too. But when you read about him too, because I don't know everything about every single player, the one thing that concerns me is they say that he is too skinny, basically. That he's too skinny to truly play in the box and too stiff to stay deep. So muscle mass is something that is a little bit concerning for me. Jalen Reed, Battle. Oh my gosh, you guys are all saying different people. Who do we take? We have a Smith and Jones. Let's see. Okay. I don't know how to pick. Let's see. Who's Jalen Reed? I did not see where he was. Let's just take Battle because he's the first one here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we have a corner, tackle, and a safety. Okay, so Ivan Pace Jr. is one that people have liked a lot. He has a very good grade for 2022. He played in 897 defensive snaps, 92 tackles. He only missed 19 tackles. He is 6 foot 235, and he is 22 years old. I know that we don't necessarily need a linebacker, but it's never a bad idea. Some people like A.T. Perry. He is giant. He has a pretty good grade. He's 6'5", 205. So he's tall and thin also. So kind of similar to Thornton. He had 11 touchdowns last year, 13.6 yards per reception, 1,100 yards. So not bad. I haven't seen a whole lot of people put him with the Patriots, but I know Evan Lazar put out a thing today, but he didn't have A.T. Perry on there. Let's see. Nathaniel, you are too sweet. Thank you so much. I say Pace because we are going at a good pace with this draft. I will concede. Let's look at wide receiver. Okay, hold on. So are we taking Pace? Is that okay? Are we good with taking a linebacker? Is that what we're good with? I haven't looked at Cedric Tillman at all. 6'3". I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot about him though. All right, let's take Pace. we can do another one after this. I have a few minutes that we can do this. Okay, so 117. We're at pick 117, round 4. So we've already taken safety, corner, tackle, linebacker. Let's see. Oh, people like Marvin Mims. He's been connected. He's been drafted to the Patriots in mock drafts. What do you guys like? Should we look at receivers? Is that what we want in round 4? Let's see. Marvin Mims, just in case people are wondering. He got a 75.5 grade last year at 6 touchdowns. Oh wow, he averaged 20 yards per reception. Dang. 1,082 yards on 87 targets, 54 catches. Dang. He's 5'11 though. I feel like we need a taller guy. Okay. Mims, this is why I'm hot. Okay, let's see. That's probably not going to get a good grade because we were at 117 and he was projected at 133. But that is okay. Up here's a center that I kept going for. He's one of the higher ranked ones. 6'3", 307. He's a big boy. Halfbacks, I've taken Chase Brown, I think, before. Ball security, has 6 fumbles. Dang. Yeah, no coach is going to put up with that. No, they won't, especially Bill Belichick. That was an issue with Mr. Ramondre Stevenson. Another one that I like to go for here is tackle. Blake Freeland, I sometimes have taken. He's a really good one too. He is a swing tackle, so that is nice. 6'8". Dang, homie, I did not know that. 6'8", 305. People have had him take the Patriots taking Riley Moss as well. He's a cornerback. He is 6'1", 193. I forget who I saw. So I saw a recent mock draft have them taking him. Let's see what you guys are saying. Go wide receiver or halfback. Get a center. They are versatile. Go running back or center. Jeez, you guys are all over the place. Let's do. Okay, there's another there's a halfback that I like that's later. So let's do center for now. Nope. My cat is trying to make an appearance. This is just what she does. All right, so we got the next few picks are really close together. 184, 187, 192. So we like those. I think Chris Rodriguez Jr. is the one that I like. Yeah, I think he was the one that I liked a lot. It's 5'11", 224. So that's the halfback that I've been taking a lot. Special teams, I think they'll probably go later in the draft. I think they're going to take a kicker. I'm hoping they take Moody, if we're being honest. And I think that if they're looking for somebody to do, something for like Slater, then I think that they might just try and find a guy like undrafted. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so do we want to do a halfback? Is that fine? Or do you want like a straight up running back? Let's see. Let's look at McIntosh. Oh, geez. 10 touchdowns. So he also, 509 yards. He's 6'1". Oh, he's a big boy for a halfback. Okay, you like Chris Rodriguez. Okay, let's take him then. All right, so we just took a halfback. So what do we want to do now? Let's see. We took a center already. The Patriots like Diabate. They liked him from the Shrine Bowl. He's another linebacker. I've seen Latu to the Patriots as well. I mean, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about the quarterbacks that are further down. I feel like at this point, do they need a quarterback? I don't know. I mean, this guy doesn't look horrible. He had played 13 games, 67% completion percentage, over 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Dude, that's crazy. Take Kenny? We want to take another? I'm so confused. I can't tell if you guys are, like, your comments are coming in delayed. Take us. So we want to look. Okay, let's look at quarterbacks. Oh, these are it. Dang. Okay, so it looks like this guy is like by far and away the best left available. Clayton Tune. That's a cool name. I feel. Have we taken an edge player? No. Ugh. 2 sacks, 4 hits, 12 hurries. All right, let's see. I think some of your comments are coming in later, so I can't see them. We're in round 6. Let's just take a quarterback. Because why not? Okay. I've seen Jake Bobo go to the Patriots as well, but since we're here, let's take Diabate because we know the Patriots like him, and he hasn't moved up really at all since the rankings adjusted. I thought about taking DJ Johnson, and I might consider it. His grade is pretty but he's from Oregon, and Adrian Clem was the offensive line coach at Oregon. So I would assume that if they like him, then if Clem liked him, that they would take him. But do we want to take a tight end? Latu he doesn't have a great grade for 2021. But I don't know why that is. I don't know if he was injured because he only played in 11 games. I don't know. Or we could do what I've continued to do at this point, was when I would take a punter and then I take a kicker. Should we just do that? Let's just do that. Let's take Ethan Evans because he is the best punter available. And then our last pick can be Jake Moody, who we love. We hope the Patriots take him because we need somebody for Nick Folk. Let's see. Okay. See, I've typed his name in so many times that it's just still there. Moo. All right, let's see. Don't give me problems. This thing has been giving me problems sometimes where it won't load my card. Okay, here we go. Actually, let me download it and then I'll open it. Let's see. Which one was it? This one? Okay. All right. That was not it. What was the name of this one? 4. Okay. Oh, and you guys can't even see my screen. Okay, hold on. Okay, let me share. See if I can share this. Present, share screen, window. No, I want to see. Yeah, it's just share my whole screen. Okay, here's this. Let's look at this because I can't. Okay, so C-, and you have to remember that the reason why we get these bad grades, in case people are not aware, is because of where they have them on their big board as compared to where we picked. So like pick 14, if you pick a guy that's at 21, then that's going to be like a bad grade, you know? So I never really take those that seriously because I just think it's kind of silly. It's just like taking him, it's at 210, it's because he's at 260. So, yeah, so I mean, I feel like this is pretty good. We have a corner tackle, safety, linebacker, wide receiver, center, halfback, quarterback, linebacker, punter, kicker. It's basically hitting everywhere we need to be. So I feel like this would be a pretty good draft. These are people that I keep picking too in my own. So obviously this is not going to be something that the Patriots are going to do. I'm not 100% on board with Joey Porter Jr. in the first round, but I know a lot of people are really high on him, especially because they feel like we need a corner. And that's going to be interesting too, because they did just take Marcus and Jack Jones last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Marcus back as a corner and we see him mostly as a returner. That would mean that they would need that corner. I do like Emmanuel Forbes in the second round, or at least he usually is in the second round, but sometimes he ends up going before 46. So if that's the case, if it doesn't change drastically from the combine, then the Patriots would probably have to move up from 46. If they draft, let's see, what are you saying? If they draft Luddy, then the background to every post game after he kicks the game-winning field goal changes from Zuddy to Luddy. That would be pretty cool. Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know. That would be cool. But anyway, I actually have to go, so I can't do a second one. But if you guys want to do this again, I can do this again. Hopefully we can have enough to talk about next week, where we can join up together and talk about the Patriots once again. And I can do another mock draft. You know that I can do mock drafts all day long. I love me a mock draft. So, and it's fun. It's just unfortunate that I think your comments are delayed a little bit. So, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But, thank you guys for chatting with me today. I will probably split this stream up too and make them into little clips if you guys are interested in that. And I'm excited that I get to talk to you guys again. So don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @SMarshXO. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is, I think my screen name is at Sarah Marshall XO. And just, get the word out there that your girl is doing some Patriots, NFL, WWE content, trying to grow that channel. I'm finally over 300 subscribers. So just, help a girl out. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And I will talk to you guys on Twitter. If not, I will see you guys next week. Bye.